We're live.
Sarah!
Sarah.
Look,
Jesus.
I'm alive. I'm here. I realized I desperately needed to do a post to advertise the stream. And as everyone here knows, my phone is my webcam.
Your camera. That is true.
How are you, my friends? Clint thinks I'm highly unprofessional.
I want the audience to know that we have spent the last, 11, 12 minutes just watching you fumble with your tech, and then the stream starts and we come back to this.
Look, is that my
really
fault?
Incredible.
Yes, it's my fault.
Yeah, for sure. I've never used
know.
Streamlabs before. I'm kind of into it. It's kind of working for me.
Yeah, because this is only your second Chill Touch stream.
Yeah,
that is technically true.
To this project.
I'm busy, okay?
You once popped on for 1 minute and said, I'll be right back, and then never came back.
I never came back. But that is because I experienced what I like to call an acute case of rapid onset poopy butt.
Don't want to do it.
No, she was sick.
No, I got sick. I got butt sick. Like, it happens sometimes to the hottest girls.
Sometimes you get butt sick, Clint.
Can I tell a butt sick story for the audience? They're gonna love this.
Please.
Yeah, I guess, Clint, if you must.
It's recent, and I don't know. I think about it almost every time I leave my house because it's changed the way my neighbors think about me.
Wait, is this in the new house?
Yep.
This is a recent poopy butt.
You might recall on my birthday, which was a few weeks ago, I got incredibly food poisoned. And
I don't recall this at all.
It wasn't great. I don't recommend it. But I, like, at a certain point, my 3-year-old had to leave the house, and she wanted to go for a walk down the block. And we walked down the block, and we reached the end, and I realized, like, I'm not going to make it. We got to turn around. So I turn around, and I'm halfway down the block. Or like, if I take one more step, I'm going to pass out, puke, shit my pants, or all three.
Oh my God.
I just stop on this bench. You need to know that it is freezing cold outside, and I am wearing essentially pajamas. And I sit on this bench and I begin to sweat profusely. And I just close my eyes because I think if I look at anything, everything's going to break. It's horrible. And I'm sitting outside. I've been in this house for 2 months. I do not know the neighbors at all. But what they essentially see is a homeless man with the DTs sitting on a bench outside their house.
With a child.
Yeah, fortunately, my wife came and rescued the child.
I just want to say hello to, if you're one of my new followers who just clicked my story link to join this stream, welcome to Chill Touch.
So I sat out there for so long. I do not know how much time passed. Infinity time. I just sat there with my eyes closed, sweating in the cold.
Perfect.
That the neighbors had to come out and ask if I was okay. And I was ashamed to tell them that I was their new neighbor.
I think you say, like,
Clinton.
I have food poisoning. Yeah. Honestly, I would find that a really endearing way to meet a new neighbor.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah. Okay. Just like a nice reminder that, like, you're a human, I'm a human. We can start, like, we don't even have to spend any time in the pretense, right? Like, we could just jump right into knowing each other.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, you and me, Sarah. I do not start with vulnerability. I like to begin from a position of strength.
That is true. Sarah's classic. The kitty cat meowing in the background is so cute.
There's a spider up on the ceiling, and I don't let them kill spiders, but if there's like a fly on the wall, then we'll play fly swatter. So I'll carry them around and let them try to eat the fly. Yeah.
Nice. Good.
So that they want to play kill the spider, and I'm not going to let them.
No, don't let them. The best thing about having cats is so much less bugs because they eat them.
They eat them.
But Sarah's thing when she meets new people is classic. She goes, "So what's your deal? What's your whole thing?"
That's my favorite question.
She loves that. And people take it in different ways.
I don't know if there's a singular answer to that question. It is,
but Clint,
I would say Sarah's starting position of strength by doing this. This is
that's true.
vulnerability.
But
this
she means it.
show me your belly.
Yeah.
It's really not that. Okay, here's what's interesting about the question, what's your deal to me? Of course, there's not an answer. But I think it's interesting to see how people try to answer it. Like, that tells you a lot about them, what they value, like how they interact with it. I also, like, my favorite kind of response is a lot of people just get flustered or they fumble around. I do this especially like when Willa brings home someone she's like been on a date with for the first time. This isn't like an intentional thing. This is just how I operate with everybody. But I find
what are your intentions with my girlfriend?
I do. And I sit there in my folding chair in the driveway cleaning my 12 gauge.
The Texas in you comes out.
Yeah. But like when someone can respond to that with like, what kind of fucking question is that? Then I'm like, oh, cool. We're probably gonna get along pretty good.
Sure.
I think
nice
that's what my boyfriend did. My hot boyfriend. The first time when Sarah was like, "What's your whole deal?" and he was like, "Whoa, okay."
My answer is I always do. Real estate.
Yeah. You do real estate?
Oh my god.
For the purposes of that stupid question.
Yeah, okay, but some people really engage with it, and I want to say that answer is not coming from a place of the question's not coming from a place of fucking with people. It's just like thus far a replacement I've settled on for like, so what do you do? Because I don't want to ask people to define themselves to me
by
their job or like how they fit into capitalism.
Kitty's climbing on the painting.
I know.
Oh, okay. I'm just worried about the safety of the painting.
That's a to be painted over canvas.
Got it. Amazing.
Quick pin. Mary Lou, you're on the internet. What? Like there'll be screenshots, there'll be GIFs, like cut up the camera. Okay. You do you.
No, this is what I want.
So anyway, if you're new to
I prefer to eat carrots whole because baby carrots are too wet. You know what I mean?
Dry them. You can dry them.
No.
Civilized lady.
No, they're just like that in their soul.
Yeah.
Would you
I like
sideways at least?
What do you mean?
What's up, Doc?
Like this?
Yep.
he's worried. Mary Lou, he's worried about the dick photoshops.
Yeah, I think people should do it because it reveals to themselves how poisoned their souls are. That's the only way they could ever.
You think halfway through making the GIF, they go, "Who am I? Who am I in this moment?"
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say there's not really ever a good reason to be doing that. Like,
I'm just saying, like,
not
if
to
you
be too woke. It's either misogynist or homophobic.
So. Sure, but I am biting it off, as Clancy said, and I think if you want to see a dick in a mouth so bad, like. Work on your people skills. For free. Like go to the gym and like
do that too.
Go meet some people and put your dick in their mouth. You know what I mean? Like it's fun.
And if you need a list of which gyms those are,
and you know what? Let me insert some steps in there. Go meet some people, get to know them, have an explicit conversation, garner their consent, and then put your dick in their mouth.
Absolutely, yes. You know what I'm saying? Like in a fun way for everybody involved. Like it's It's possible, folks.
I think it's possible. There. Again, hello to all my new followers and welcome to Chill Touch. Guys, we usually have like deep conversations or at least interesting conversations about ttrpgs and improv. It's not usually diarrhea and dicks, but
I don't think we've talked about ttrpgs once on this stream.
Yes, we have when we had Amy Vorpal as a guest.
Yes. When we had Amy on, you're right.
I think today we should talk about going viral.
Yeah? Okay. Well,
like
let's hear it,
as a general concept or how to?
Not a how to because I don't think we
don't know. We don't know.
No. You might, but I think we all have experience of going viral.
I've never gone viral. I know that the two of you have, even recently.
Only the one time.
Sarah went viral yesterday?
Yeah.
What?
The day before?
Did
How long has it been?
Clint?
No, I have decided to disengage from a lot of
and that's very smart.
That's so
but
smart.
why I want to talk about this is Sarah posted a clip from her one woman show that was on Sunday, and it got her over 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Whoa!
Like overnight.
Over 12,000 now.
Over 12,000 now.
Yeah.
Huge.
It
was the chair clip, correct?
Yes, the video has garnered 1.5 million views on the Reels, and just 1,600 comments worth of, I want to say, primarily really nice comments.
Yeah,
I'd say it's about
awesome.
It started out 95% just like genuinely kind comments, and still the majority of them are. But now it's like 60% nice comments, 40% like either banal transphobic trolling, like it's a dude, which is like, do better. Come on, that's
Sure.
boring, bored.
It's really
next.
boring.
Yeah.
Or flame war,
yes,
which I've honestly really enjoyed reading. What's been really fun is to see like people make their, like there's people leaving comments, and okay, should I just play the video for people
Yes,
for
play
context
it.
if they haven't seen it?
That includes me, please.
Let me add a video. So this is, while I'm uploading it, this is a clip from my one-woman show, and I won't give you any other. Well, I'm not going to give you any other context actually, because none of the people watching it had it.
Okay, yeah.
No, it's uploading. It was a one-woman show I did on Sunday, and it was really fun. It's what we were talking about. It's what Ross and Clint and Zach and I were talking about last week, because I was talking to them about my show. It's all about gender and philosophy, and I used to be a philosophy student, and at one point in my life I wanted to be a philosophy professor, and then I was too scared of going back to school because I'm a bad student, and I don't like being told what to do. So my advisor advised me not to go to grad school, and I didn't. But then this show is kind of a way of me being like, but what if I had?
But what if?
What if? Do we think it's going to ever load? What do we think's going on here? How do I like see what's loading? That's my question. This is really fun. Waiting for a video to load. So let's keep talking about other stuff, and I'll let you know when it's loaded.
Well, we're talking about virality in general. We'll come back to this specific instance, but it sounds like it's been like viral doesn't mean positive, and this sounds like it has been.
This actually has been so positive.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so I was unable to make your show because I was out of town, but everything I hear is that it was a wild success.
It was a wild success.
Smash.
Total smash. It was so fun. It was so good. I like instantly was like, we got to do this 1,000 more times.
Like, I know her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super fun. Clint, you'd been worried because throughout the process of me preparing for this show, we'd had many conversations where I was like, I still don't know what I'm doing.
When you were what I would call hours from taking the stage, you had not instilled me with confidence that you had written a show. Correct.
I end up.
That is true.
And the end result is that I never did write a show really, but I also kind of did. So the conceit of the show is that I'm a philosophy professor, and I've just found out it's day one of an advanced seminar on the philosophy of gender and transgender studies, and I've just found out half an hour before the show that I'm being fired at the end of this class. So I have 1 hour to cram in a whole semester's worth of content. And instead of writing a script, what I did was I made a slideshow that I used as my outline. But the clip is uploaded. Let's watch. If you think it's a chair, raise your hand. If you don't think it's a chair, I want you to look around at each other judgmentally, like all these people. Okay? Great, so not everyone is raising their hand, which is interesting, because chair is like a stupid, simple word. You know what it is? All right, we're just going to go quick. Chair or not chair?
Chair.
Beautiful. Yeah, you can say it out loud. That works too. Chair, not chair.
Chair.
Chair, not chair.
Not chair. Not chair. Not chair.
Okay, so it's like a 40-60 split. That's fascinating to me. Because, again, chair is a word you learn in kindergarten. Chair, not chair. Isn't this kind of weird though? Isn't it like interesting that this simple word that we all use like most days is like actually very contentious? This is an art installation at the Broad.
Not
Just
chair.
the life size of it. You're not allowed to sit on it. So unlike a horse, it's not a chair. This was one of the first ones I showed you. I'm just curious if this one changes anything. This is an AI generated image. Does that for any of you change it from chair to not chair?
Not chair.
That makes it not chair?
Yeah.
Now here's my question about that. I haven't shown you any real chairs. They've all been pictures. Right? That's just weird, right? The reason that matters is because I think deep down, a lot of us are viscerally aware of the fact that as a weird little conscious being, as a self-contained ego and an I, a conscious experience, there's like a way in which we're fundamentally doomed to always be alone, right? And so we play the game of language as a proxy for direct telepathy, basically. And I think part of the problem that people face when they're looking at a thing like it's a hot dog, or we're talking about what is a chair, or maybe we're talking about what is a woman, is that when we encounter these edge cases that don't fit neatly into the game system that we've been playing, or we're forced to look closer at the game system and recognize that like it's not actually as comprehensive as we thought it was, well, that calls into doubt our ability to actually ever connect. If language is the mechanism by which we connect and communicate our deepest truths to one another, and by which we understand and are understood, confronting the fact that language is imperfect and messy, imprecise, unavoidably so, is distressing.
So that was the clip.
Perfect.
Built for
so good.
virality. People love a Magritte reference.
Well, okay, on the Magritte thing, it's incredible. Probably 200-300's worth of the 1,600 comments are people being like,
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
no, it's people being like, ceci n'est pas une pipe. Have you heard of Magritte? This is just Magritte. Like,
yes.
and also so many people who commented and said, actually, none of these are chairs, they're pictures. And I'm like,
right.
Yeah, what? You can't make it through 2 minutes?
That's you actually, one of the reasons I've stopped engaging with the internet is what little I did. I would, if a new show I had made went online, I would just watch the Reddit comments pop in, and people who would write a screed when it had been like the show wasn't finished, right? Was crazy to me. They couldn't make it through an hour before they had to pause it, go to the internet, and write. And frequently the thing that they were choosing to write an essay about was addressed if they had just kept pressing play.
Yeah.
I do want to point out that I got roasted in our comments. You're absolutely right. That was me. I was sitting directly next to the microphone, and I was very worried about that. But I was like, nobody else is mad about me sitting directly next to this microphone, so I bet it's fine. And it wasn't.
I thought it was okay, honestly. Okay. Like, I'm glad you were the person sitting next to the microphone, just because that's way more conducive to these clips than like
oh yeah
you respond
I was
appropriately.
Laughing. And I respond appropriately and not inappropriately. Sure. Okay.
Yes.
But still, it was something I was worried about, and I was right to have been worried. And Klorpdonk and Minshew, you guys nailed me. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Minor aside, the reason chill toucher Ross Bryant isn't here is because he is at this very moment filming an episode of Make Some Noise. and this is the season where they're bringing an audience. They want laughers in there.
Oh wow!
And I was on the list of laughers to go in there, and I was like, I've been doing comedy for 20 years, baby. I don't laugh at shit.
Yeah,
I don't laugh
you don't
at
want me
shit.
in there.
Willa was at the recording on Monday.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's interesting. We'll see how that changes things for them.
Yeah, I mean, having produced that show, the crew laughs, but the crew is
their crew,
16 people, right?
Yeah,
Like it's just not, and they're spread out and kind of trained not to laugh.
Yeah,
trained not to laugh. When I did an episode of Zach's show, Play It By Ear, we are performing, just for the crew, and we're musical improvisers. Improv in general, is the audience is a participant in improv because we decide what to do based on what gets laughs. And so then when you don't get that response, it was really hard. And but then it made moments when we did make the crew laugh, like especially like, yes, because they're not supposed to, right? They're not, they're trying to be quiet and they're trying not to laugh.
It's
it was
like
hard.
Improv is like whitewater rafting. Like everything you do is like
reactive.
It's reactive, but that's what the art form is. Like that's what makes it exciting and fun.
Yeah.
And
I would argue that stand-up done well is the same. Like, it is constantly turning the dial based on what's happening in the room. I think the audience has the stream has an issue with my calling audience laughers.
Laughers.
I call them laughers because it's the only thing I want to hear from them. That's it.
Funny.
It's it was interesting doing the show because it was my first time on stage alone, and so many, like, it's what stand-ups do all the time, right? But I'd never done it, and it was actually really fun.
Wait, really? You've never been on stage alone?
I mean, I guess that's not true.
I guess that makes sense.
I've done, like, during COVID, during the first years of COVID, when I was living in the Bay, I did a couple, like, 20-minute sets at people's backyards, like, open mics. But that was, like, music. That wasn't comedy. And also it was for, like, 20 people on folding chairs in a backyard. So it was interesting because going in, I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know how I will respond to this, because also so much of improv is not just the audience, but it's reacting to your teammates, and it's like getting feedback from your teammates. And gotta say, it was really fun. Maybe
addictive.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. It was like I came away from it like, great, where's a theater that will let me do a whole regular lecture series?
Wait, maybe I should go back to being a teacher.
And okay, funny story about that, Clint. So on Saturday, I found out that I'd been cut from Herald Night.
Very annoying.
Very annoying.
I bet the chat has no idea what the fuck that is.
Oh, okay. Hi,
Probably
chat.
not.
Right. So chat, for the last year, I was on a house improv team at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. A house team means you're a team that, like, the theater itself is put together, and you're kind of guaranteed regular stage time and support from the theater. And within our super niche micro community, it's a thing. A lot of
like
people,
the whole world.
It's the entire world. Like 800, 900 people sometimes audition for these few. There's like 8 of these teams, and
I know people that have been auditioning for 7 years and just got on.
Yeah, like I was in a chat with the other people who were cut yesterday, and someone was like, "Yeah, I mean, I moved to LA to try to get on Herald Night." Like,
wow.
In this world, it's a big deal. And I had just found out I was cut on Saturday, and that forced me to reckon with a lot of stuff, but in large part realizing, like, I've never liked thinking about my future. I've never had a plan for the future, and I tend to ignore thinking about it as often as I can. And so for the last year, I'd allowed myself to use Herald Night to swap in for thinking about like any plans.
Wow.
Oh, hi, Coffee Talkie. Welcome. Like, what's the future?
Wow.
Hello, it's Suskura, and welcome. It was like, fuck. Sorry, my future UCB vaguely, right? Like that's enough work. That is me actively working on developing my life going forward. And
I will
honestly,
buy a home and retire on my improv profits.
yeah. I mean, I'm a very look. I'm confident in my improv skills. Maybe it's arrogance, but I think I'm a good improviser. And honestly, I wasn't expecting to get cut. So this was like, oh God, okay. My vague life plan of be on Herald Night a few years, maybe graduate, maybe start doing ASCAT, start getting opportunities that pay me money. That it'll be good enough. I had to be like, oh no, okay, that actually wasn't a plan at all.
Yeah.
That was a delusion. And so instead of taking the right lesson and like taking some time and doing a measured reflection on what I wanted from my life and the future, I immediately shotgunned an application for a philosophy master's degree at Cal State LA.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's my girl.
But then I did this show and I was like, I actually think I do want to do that. Like,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So that's great. Anyway, that's Sarah's monologue for this 10-minute chunk.
I think it'll be good for your comedy. In the way that law school was not good for your comedy.
Law school made me so sad.
I think that this could actually be good for your comedy.
Sure.
Because
thinking about thinking is comedy adjacent.
Mm-hmm. And it'll give you more material, more fodder, and you'll be in the practice of like writing down your thoughts and like doing something with them. You know what I mean? Like
totally. Yeah. I mean, I think what I realized with this show is I said so much of the stuff that I've been thinking about for 20 years. Like, and I feel like the reason I could do this show now instead of all the other years that I've like wanted to do something and never really done it is I'd finally gotten to a point where I was like, I think I know enough and have thought about this stuff enough that I feel like it's reasonable for me to put myself in a position of sharing something with other people. Because usually I'm like, well, what the fuck do you know? Like, why would you do that? You don't know what you're talking about, to myself and to everybody else who dares to try. And I think like doing this, I'm like, yeah, I want to do more, but then I'm also like, the risk is you become a Ben Shapiro or a Jordan Peterson, and you just so enjoy the feeling of being expert and being treated that way that you accidentally fall into talking out of your ass. Like I'm like, and I don't want to do that. Like I really don't want to be talking about stuff that's way beyond anything I have any reason to be talking about.
That's
like in the
poor, Sarah.
I know. Like in the show, even like it bothers me because I watched it back and I made some comment about the Maasai in reference to that clip of Matt Walsh talking to them. And overall, I stand by the point I was making, but I dropped in there like the Maasai have only been a culture for 150 years, and that's not true. That's like a thing I misinterpreted from a history of the Maasai I was reading. That was like the Maasai have only been a dominant force in this part of Tanzania for 150 years. And has nothing to do with how old their culture is. And now I'm just like, it's so in my head of like, I can't believe I spread that lie. I was overconfident and I lied. So yeah, I want to go back to school and become an actual expert so that I can keep giving these lectures and not have to feel guilty.
I think that's a great idea. I'm excited.
And your ability to feel guilt is why you're poor.
Believe me,
that's true.
I know.
That is actually so true.
I know. I would have been an amazing Ben Shapiro.
You would have been a great cult leader too.
Yeah.
All right. Hard pivot for the for the chat.
Pivot.
Let's talk some D&D. Joe Kaplan has a D&D question.
Oh yeah, because Joseph's my little brother, and
Oh,
this is a great question because tonight I will be DMing his first ever D&D game for him and his
yeah,
friends.
that's exciting.
So we're having our session 0 tonight. So do you two have any session 0 advice?
And so does this mean whatever we tell Joseph is going to get implemented at the table hours from now?
Yeah.
I love it. The answer is for a D&D character, don't think that hard about it. It's
Yeah.
if you come in with a deeper, complicated backstory, there is simply no guarantee that the table will ever service it. Better to have relationships with the other characters and then let backstory emerge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, I think, great advice. And I think you can sort of start cartoonish and then let the dimension fill itself out, kind of what Clint
Agree.
is saying. Like, start with 2 dimension. Think about like Scooby-Doo and the mystery gang. They each have a thing, right? Like, don't be afraid to just like have a thing and be a little cliche or
Yeah.
one-dimensional, 2-dimensional at first, because like it helps you stay focused, and then you can get more complex and more deep later. um yeah, think about like which epithet do you want to be. Do you want to be the smart, witty one? Do you want to be the charming one? Do you want to be the sweet one? Do you want to be the mysterious one? I don't know. Like, it's easier to start that way and then color it in later.
And I'll say the lessons I've learned are it's like it's really tempting to want to play what Zach talks about this a lot with LARP characters. It's like really tempting to want to play a cool loner like an Aragorn, or
Yes.
like someone who's, you know, disaffected and kind of traumatized and
Brooding.
brooding. Like those are characters we often love when we read fantasy or watch
Mhm.
fantasy. They're really hard to play because
Yeah.
you're
And
setting
they're not
yourself.
as fun.
They're not fun. Like, that's a problem I've had with my character in our campaign because it was one of the first, like, long-term characters I committed myself to, the first, really, and I wanted to b I made her one of these, like, kinda traumatized, brooding people who has a really hard time connecting with reality, which means I'm always having to strain and flex to find reasons for her to care about what's happening in the game while feeling honest to her. It's way more fun to be a silly, passionate person who then discovers that depth later, but, like,
Mhm.
has the background of wanting to engage.
I would say
Not
pick something that you care a lot about, whether that's just making money, or whether that's protecting your friends, or that's like going on adventure. It doesn't have to be like, it can be something bad, like power and money. Like, it doesn't have to be something like pure hearted and great. Just pick something to care about, and that
It can
makes
be
everything a
dogs.
lot easier.
In Clint's case, in Clint's character Xander, it can be
rules.
everyone, yeah, properly following the rules.
Yeah. But it makes everything easier, all of your decision making, if you just have at least one thing that you care a lot about. But those brooding characters that are like, I don't need anyone or anything. It's like, that's actually not fun to play.
Turns out
When I was
those people are
a
traumatized. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, Clint.
when I was a young role player, I once played in uh, a game in which we were told our characters are going to be in like a war-torn post-apocalyptic area, and we all had superpowers. So I made a character who was just a regular guy and had survived the war because his superpower was he could turn invisible and intangible, and I made him paranoid. And what I'd essentially done is made a character who wasn't in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I sat there for hours.
I'd also say make bad choices sometimes. Like, your
Oh, yeah.
characters are not going to be as like I don't know. Like, it's not as fun if everything always works out all the time. If you solve every puzzle immediately and never have problems, like if nothing ever goes wrong, there's no story. So like if you think, you know, my character is not very smart and they're also kind of greedy and there's this thing in this room that's really shiny, you as a player are like, don't fucking take that. That's a trap. But like my character kind of would actually do that, then like do it. Do it.
I totally agree with Mary Lou insofar as that's also the kind of game I prefer, which is why Mary Lou and I play a lot of games together. Hi, Zach. We're talking about D&D Session 0 and character creation for people who haven't done it before.
I think it's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
But to just follow up with what Mary Lou was saying, like, I think character story-driven games where your characters make mistakes all the time and like suffer the consequences and have to work their way out of trouble, whatever. I love those games. But everyone has a different play style. And that's why I think a Session 0 where you all really just be direct and communicate like what kind of play do I enjoy is important. Because there are also people who want to play D&D like a video game. They don't want to role play. They don't want to really even like think about their characters as people. Like they want to treat it
level up.
They want to level up. They want to kill everything. They want to most efficiently as they can solve all the problems.
And they want to
like,
win.
advance.
Yeah,
And
I have a friend
win.
who has a really hard time when his character experiences hardship. And I don't mean struggles like to defeat a character, but like if he loses and experiences a consequence, it like hurts him because his life is like hard, and so he uses D&D to like be like, this is where I win.
Right.
And when he loses, and it's fascinating and it's a great story, it's still like he has a really hard time with it, even though conceptually he knows it's interesting and cool.
That's a totally legitimate way. Yeah, exactly. That's a totally legitimate way to engage with D&D.
Totally.
But you're only going to have fun if you're in a party of other people who are treating it the same way. Because if like you're that guy and you're in a party with Mary Lou, who's like, and it's fun for me to see what happens when my character makes a mistake in line with their real nature, and then that causes y'all to lose the combat or whatever, then you are going to blame Mary Lou instead of seeing it as like it's just a misalignment.
Or the DM, right? If the DM is like, these are the real consequences of what that really would happen. Like, and you know, here's this consequence.
Yeah. Like, not all of your friends are going to be your best D&D party mates, and not all your best D&D party mates are actually going to be like your friends.
I do think you need a level of trust there with your DM also, though, right? Because I think a lot of the times there's a way to make failure in a game setting like fun and exciting, and there's a way to make it just feel like you're losing, and no one likes just feeling like they're losing.
No,
right?
No.
So like it has to be that version of like you want to roll a 1 and have something go really badly and everyone be like, if you're me, because I do everything in D&D through like the lens of humor, just because that's why I go there. I want to play with people that are funny. Our DM Ross is like incredible, but when he starts doing stuff that's like horror, that's way more outside of where my brain would normally go. So while I enjoy it, that's not like where I come from as it. Anyway, sorry, beside the point.
No,
if someone rolls,
that's actually super reasonable.
If someone rolls like a 1, I'm like, okay, how can I do something that when everyone is talking about this one later, like for this player, be like, man, wasn't it funny when you meant to shoot that guy in the head, but you accidentally shot a rope that dropped a chandelier somewhere else and made something like bad happen? Like you failed, but we all got to enjoy something really like fun or crazy or whatever. Like, how can you make it exciting so that it doesn't feel like you just like had the football at the 1 yard line and dropped it and like you just did a bad job?
Yeah.
And that's even more fun if the only reason you were trying to shoot that guy in the head was because you were trying to show off for like the hot half-orc priestess that was also in battle with you, and there was a way more efficient way to have gotten through that combat. And so like the move was a character flaw and then you suffered devastating consequences as a result of showing off, that to me makes it feel like no one can control the outcome of the dice. But
Sure.
Like,
and then like, you know, 2 episodes of game later, you run back into that orc, and that orc's like, hey, one of the coolest days of my life was when you set that whole building on fire.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't. Maybe what seemed like a loss in the moment wasn't later on.
I don't vape. My lungs are pure and clean. This was a Mr. Brown black coffee. Thank you very much.
How are you going to vape that though?
It's difficult.
I think you could if you worked hard enough. I think you could.
Ooh, I like
but
that
Joe,
fancy.
you asked about a lovable himbo. If that's a good archetype, I literally play a lovable himbo in
For
our
sure.
D&D game.
You sure do.
And he's the best. I'm so jealous that Mary Lou gets to play Fat Boy.
And
it's awesome.
And Mary Lou occasionally has to do something that I think is very, very funny, which is like, Willa is shouting beef muffins and
beef muffins.
Yeah, which is Fat Boy's alter ego. But Mary Lou occasionally has to do something very funny, which essentially like she will roll for him a natural 20 on like a fucking intelligence check.
Yeah.
And then have to do like the insane math of how the stupid boy is smart for this one specific thing. It's almost like its own special kind of failure because it's like so wrong. But Fat Boy is too stupid to know what he is and is not good at. So he tries everything.
Yeah.
Which is great.
That is a great magic trick. There's also let's big up Fat Boy for a second. Fatimus Boyardee, Mary Lou's character.
Which really fast, Joe, I my whole concept for my character is I based it on my cat. My cat, Fat Boy, my stupid black fat cat. I made it to Tabaxi, and I was like, all I can think about is my stupid cat. And
was
so
this the first character you ever made?
Yes.
For D&D.
For any game?
No, you had already played in some. No, wait.
No.
I take it back.
No.
It was first character.
This is my first character.
Wow. Got it right. Got it right in one.
Yeah, but because I kept it simple, right? I was like, this dumb cat. That's my concept. That's it. And every choice was just guided by that. Okay.
But
Fatimus Boyardee
in many ways,
is his full name.
Fatimus is the reason our group stays together.
Oh yeah.
Because Fatimus calls everyone his best friend.
Yes.
You're my best friend.
Fatimus is the only person in the group, for example, that my character actually really likes or cares about.
Aww.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like everybody in our group.
Yeah.
No matter how shitty I am to Fatimus will turn to another character and go, "That's my best friend."
Yeah.
Real mental warfare on you.
Meanwhile, my character Follow, who is also one of my first real characters, I did the opposite. I took the approach of like, I always
based it off of my cat.
I based it off of Zach's cat, who I hate.
Opposite of cat.
No, like it's a trap I fall into with character creation all the time because I'm one of those people who like is constantly writing fantasy novels in my head, but is too ADHD to ever actually try to write a book. So when it's like, ooh, I'm in character creation for a game, now, perfect. Here's my backstory. Here's all the various twisting emotions that guide their actions and blah blah blah. And it's so restraining that they're just not fun to play very much.
Sure.
Because I've prevented myself from all the discovery that naturally happens in the game that allows the character to like adjust and be fun for this game.
I've done that. I've made characters I discovered I didn't like later. Like you just kind of want to.
Sorry, Jared.
I change them because I think that happens too, and I think that you do that a fair amount.
I've changed it.
It's like you enjoy playing the part of Fala that is just like a full-on like
druggy
woodland drug stoner. Like like that seems to be fun for you, and like
a horny lesbian yearner.
Yeah, and like so the stuff from the backstory, like my character has a backstory too. It's never become relevant really, but like you have to make one up, and then if it doesn't serve you, you just sort of like let it go.
No, she's 100%. She's changed a lot over the 5 years to the point that Ross even let me do like a full reclass at level 5.
Oh yeah, she started out as a ranger.
Yeah, she started as a ranger.
Now she's a druid.
Now she's a druid,
which makes way more sense.
It's like barely a reclass. I mean,
I know. If we're being honest, But yeah, I mean, Flawless Problem, to get back to advice for people making characters, Flawless Problem is really what Mary Lou was talking about earlier. It's your life is easier if your character clearly has one thing they care a lot about.
Right.
And Fala
You'll
right now
find
does
the
that.
other stuff.
Yeah. She'll like find stuff throughout that she cares about. She kind of vaguely cares about being like a good person and helping people, but that's boring. So
But I also think that like having ties to the group is like, I think part of the reason why Fatimus is ride or die for every other single
vital.
person in the
Yeah.
party. Whereas like if I need to save Clint's character, sometimes I have to do the meta of like, it would be such a pain in the ass if we lost this powerful wizard. I better do something like but like, you know,
I think in my head it's more like I think he would murder us if we.
No, I mean, like at this point, actually, my character likes everyone enough.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
we've been rolling together for long enough, and at this
Yeah.
point, it's like, well, every single one of these people can rat me out for a lot of stuff. So
we are in it now.
Like
Yeah.
we're all in it now. But I
as a character, I am super fascinated by your character, Zach, who is a good dude,
kind of
Good.
a full murderer.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
and like
will sell his soul to the highest bidder.
Joyous murderer, I will say. Right?
He's not a murderer of like random people, though. He's
No.
just not.
No.
He's just like. Okay, so the very quick background of my characters. My character had a warlock pact, but anytime he meets someone stronger, he's willing to sort of like cancel that warlock pact and get a new warlock pact.
Yeah, he's always
Which
breaking up
makes
with
his
boss.
old patron really mad.
Pretty mad. Especially when I think I accident and Ross has like rolled with it, but I think like I started out with like, yeah, the Kraken. I made a pact with the Kraken to make my dad mad, and then like the first bad thing that we encountered, I was like,
we ran into what was meant to be the big bad for the game. I'm
right,
sure.
and I was like, actually,
bad.
maybe this is my patron. And Ross was like, you want this guy to be patron? I was like, yes. He's like, okay, and that's proven to be. Really interesting for us.
Really,
and now
we've gone some crazy places because of it.
And now
what it
it's
really
like
means is the big bad guy kind of is like, I think they work for me.
yes.
Not to do too much inside baseball to the people in the chat who aren't playing this game with us and is probably missing a lot of context. You're never going to see us play this game. We'll talk about it. You'll never see us play it. You could see us play other games.
For sure.
We're trying to find times to do that.
This is about friendship, everybody.
Yeah, it's about friendship. You just got to keep some things sacred from like the algorithm and content and stuff. Not most things. Most of my life can be content.
Also, I don't want.
If I'm going to be that racist, I don't want the camera on me.
That's right. Clint's
racist to halflings.
Racist against. He's a gnome who's racist against halflings.
And it's so
very funny.
It's so funny and it's so good.
Funny
because
he's so racist. It's so good.
It's really quite good, but I wouldn't want you to have to second guess that for a second because cameras were on you.
Okay.
Also, I don't want people to see how poorly I built Fat Boy because he was my first character. And
there's no poor building. Don't be such a min-maxer.
There's min-maxing, and then there's what I did.
Optimize.
Yeah, I did not optimize.
Wait, can you put the magical girl comment up?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can I? There
is one, and Ashley Birch has been trying to get us to run a game of it for forever.
Have y'all heard of Flavor Girls?
No, but I'm into the name.
I'm already interested.
I'll be right back.
Okay, great.
I'm hearing half Food Wars, half Sailor Moon.
That sounds pretty cool.
There are very few games we wouldn't play with this group.
Yeah.
I think we'd try anything.
Yeah.
I did make us decide which K-pop idols we'd be when in our first Chill Touch stream.
Did you?
With Russ. Yeah, remember? I was going to be the one with all the animals.
Oh, within our idol group.
And that's why we started talking about pigeons.
I thought you meant specifically which one.
And pigeon milk.
I'm gonna leave and come back because I think I need to unreverse my camera for this to work.
Okay, fair.
Right.
We play mostly in person these days, but the game started online in 2020.
We played every
and
week. It was like every Thursday or something.
Yeah. Yes, Girl by Moonlight is one I've been wanting to play for sure.
Okay, this is the correct ways, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a compilation of a comic called Flavor Girls. It is by, let's make sure we're crediting the right person here. I actually don't know how their name is pronounced. See it there?
Yeah.
That's who it's by. Flavor Girls is a like post. This was so there's a comic store in Los Angeles, and I've never been a comics person, but it opened on my street, and I want to support them because they're great. And so I
Secret headquarters.
Yes, it's secret. This is for secret headquarters.
It's great. Yeah.
And they suggested this. This was in one of their like picks things, and I had a friend who was going to see Sailor Moon live, and I was like, so it was on my brain. I was like, I want to see what this is about. Flavor Girls is a post-apocalyptic, like Earth has been like totally fucked up by some aliens, and these like 3 girls who all have the power of a different fruit are the only one keeping everyone alive, and it's like sort of unclear. It's like it's wild, but also it's quite good. I highly recommend it. There's
What fruits? What fruits?
I didn't know fruits had
ones.
powers.
Well, there's the dragon fruit, pomegranate, pineapple, and artichoke, and pineapple is like you watch basically like Sailor Moon become the next one. She's pineapple, and pineapple doesn't understand what her powers are, but it's all like it is darker than Sailor Moon is, but it's still very much like a magical girl thing, and it's there's this compilation out, and then there's like 3 issues out. I'd never bought a paper issue. What are they're called something anyway in my life. So now I have a floppy
or graphic novel.
Floppy.
Yeah.
If you're getting them like just the ones that come out monthly, as a comic book guy, I call them my floppies. I got floppies.
Sorry, this is a comic, not an RPG. This is a book.
Joseph, I think the answer is you should I think what I would say is you shouldn't have all that much to explain. And sometimes it's fun to have like one flavor secret that you withhold from the group, but otherwise there's no need to withhold anything because you can all know everything about each other. And then like when you play your characters, understand that like your character doesn't know that stuff about them. Right. Mm-hmm. If you're committed to the reality of the world and the story, then what you know about each other's characters as players shouldn't like, really impact what your characters do. There doesn't have to. It's up to you.
If that's too weird and like if that's too hard of like I don't want to know it if my character doesn't know it, then just stick to what they can see and what they already like can tell about you, right? That's why we describe so much like what we look like in ttrpg, what we're wearing, what our weapons look like, our bodies and hair and faces and scars and things, because like you can tell a story about a character based on just like what they can see, and then backstory and stuff will come out. Like your character can decide, do I want to tell them that I actually know somebody in that castle because I used to work here, you know?
I think a lot of the stress from D&D comes from people thinking about like what they need to really like prepare beforehand and like make choices that are correct for their character. Or I would say the easier way and ultimately better way is just like have an idea and then just come in and stay present. Just be like willing to be like, oh, I like what this person is saying, so my character is going to go along with them. Oh, I didn't initially like, even if your backstory is like, I wouldn't like them because XYZ, like I mean, that's a great place to start to give yourself like a jumping off point. But if you find like, oh, actually the character that I should align with, I'm annoyed by for whatever reason. And this one I really like, just like, listen and see, just go with it. Just go because everyone is trying to figure out almost no one knows out the gate how their character is going to be the most fun, what's going to be the most relevant to them. Like you can't know that stuff from the beginning because you have no idea what the story is actually about.
Right.
And all of your characters have a little bit of you in them, right? Like it's impossible to
not mine. Actually, how dare you?
This is what we talked about last time.
Oh, really?
As you fall in love with every lady beefcake we run into.
Okay, genuinely, that isn't me.
That's not your type.
No, that isn't her type.
I like a lady
But
who's big.
but like
I just don't
that's
fall in love that often.
that's true.
The problem isn't the type. The problem is us. That's right.
But like you can follow that is all I mean. That like you don't have to think about like how would my character feel about this? It's like how do you feel about it? That's how your character feels. You can make it work no matter what. Like it's easier that way.
Yeah. Or just like, yeah, I don't know. Just, it's good. Just have fun. Be flexible.
Have fun.
It's what Zach was saying is also so true of real life. You don't have to be defined by past decisions or past assumptions about yourself or about what you like. Like, listen to yourself in the moment and let it guide you.
It's hard though.
And
Man,
you're playing the table too. If everybody's having fun going one direction, but your character wouldn't be into it, go where everybody else is having fun. I say, fuck your character's desires a little bit, right? Like you're there to hang out with your friends as much as you are to tell a story.
Yeah, resist going off alone. That is like
that's a disagreement Mary Lou and I have had in a different game.
Oh, well, yeah, but I've talked to Jared Logan, who is a DM for a lot of my games, and he said something once in a game that I was playing where somebody was like, I want to go off and do something alone. And he was like, are you comfortable not being in the game for the next 45 minutes? Because like, I'm not doing that. And they either are like, oh, no, never mind. I'll stay with the group. Or like
some games can support that.
In an hour.
D&D is not particularly one of those.
That's how I tend to feel that. I think those decisions, like that thing, I think it's always okay to express what you're considering. I think my character would want to go off and do this mission alone. As a player, you have to be prepared for the GM to say exactly that. Like, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. This is the game consequence. Like, for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to follow the rest of the party. If you're okay with that, if like that's worth it to you to make this decision, I think that's fine. I think
I mean, in our last session of our last DM or our last game with Ross, we all separately went off on our own things and it was fun. It's not like that can't work.
But
if you're gonna do that game Jared ran was each session was largely us watching people do solo scenes, and I thought that game was great.
Fascinating. Totally.
You just have to like have bought into what that means. Like in our last session when I was like, look, here's what Follow would have been doing that day. This is what I think she would have done. She would have tried to go off alone, do this. I'm just going to describe it. I'm not going to expect the GM to give me my own like 40-minute role play session of my solo adventure necessarily. Unless it's like a critical emotional moment, like later in the campaign or something.
But in the beginning, when you're still building group rapport and like figuring out each other's and what you want, it's a good idea. Stick together. Don't split the party is a classic advice for D&D. Never split the party, and that's mostly because you'll die. But it's also just because it's fun.
Yeah.
Not just you'll die, the party won't get to loot your body. You won't get.
Yeah, what a waste.
It's a lot of. And I've been in games where somebody wanders off and dies, and you're like, their pockets. We lost.
They had all this stuff we needed.
All our gold that we keep rigid track of.
Yeah.
No, it just spawned back into the group inventory. Don't worry about it.
Truly.
Yeah.
It is tricky because so much of that is about like who's running your game and how do they run it, right?
Yeah.
Like Ross was like, okay, this will just be a series of vignettes,
and
because we've played enough games, like he can do that. But
yeah, I think definitely there's an extent as a player to which you should be cognizant of that, and it's all going to depend on your group and whatever. I think what makes someone a good DM is like experience and ability to balance those moments and different interests in a way that's like fun for everyone and touching back like whatever.
But also, Sarah and Mary Lou, we have experienced this a lot. This is LARP advice that everyone will give you is like, don't make your character like brooding loner.
Yes.
We talked about this earlier and we were like, and this is good. This is the advice that Zach gives.
Yes.
We were like, Zach says.
Everyone, because like everyone in fantasy wants to be that. And I totally get that. And from a narrative standpoint, when you're like writing a book, that makes sense. But when you're playing a game with a bunch of people, that's going to be unfun for you.
Correct.
Like, and at the LARP that we go to, a lot of people discover that after they make a character and they're like, actually, not this guy. This guy's going
I think
away.
it's actually one of the reasons that these stories we tell at the table frequently are not shaped the way a narrative in a TV show, movie, or novel would be. Because when are there 5 people who are tied at the hip in every scene, in every conversation, tackling every problem? When every fight happens, it's all right, 5 punches in a row. Start over, right?
But also, I think it's one I was just rewatching. I had never seen the extended edition of the Lord of the Rings movies ever.
Yeah.
So we were watching it for the first time, and someone suggested like a YouTube video that had some cool like BTS info about them. And part of the reason, like socially, they were saying that they think people really respond to this movie a lot is that a lot of this movie is just friends hanging out, being friends, and being there for each other.
Yes.
And that's like narratively tricky to write, and we don't see it in movies a lot because it's way easier to deal with like individuals and their own thing. And yes, like they break up eventually, but a lot of like the first movie is like, well, what if this whole party had to like go do a series of things and they don't all feel the same way about it, but they're there for each other and they're sort of aligned.
That's why Frieren was so good. Joe, you referenced Frieren earlier, like liking the characters in that show specifically. I think it's because we get to spend so much time with them, like outside of plot. Like we're just following them wandering around and talking and like getting to understand each other.
It's also the whole point of that show, right? Is that Frieren is learning, she, the main character, is like, oh, social bonds, I now can't have them with this one person. Spoiler, that's what the whole show's about. She follows a hero, then the hero dies. And now she's like, well, I wish I had paid more attention to like the in-between moments with this guy. Because I'm going to live for forever, and I don't know what life means if it's not for all this small stuff. So
for context, she's an elf who like will live forever.
Right. So she spends the whole show trying to figure out like social pleasure, for lack of a better word. Like she's like, what is this whole friends thing? What is this whole other people thing about? Yeah. Is like what that whole show is about.
Yeah. And so many of our campaign games will be 2.5 hours of our characters just like talking about dumb shit, and then maybe half an hour of like engaging with the steps to move the story along. Some people hate that. Some people would hate that game, and that's okay for them.
But it's the benefit of who we play with, right? Like I think it's like none of us can see like. It would be tricky for me to sit down at a table with like 5 strangers and play D&D, because that is not why I play D&D, for like the structures and games of D&D. I play D&D to hang out with like my funny friends and watch them all do like collective funny storytelling. So like the battles are fun and I love the battles, but like if we went 3 games in a row without killing anything, that's fine with me. Like the killing stuff is fun, but it's fun because it's flavor on the other stuff. And I think we can have that, but that puts a lot of pressure on your party and your dungeon master to be like incredible storytellers. So I'd run a game for strangers, but to be in a game with strangers would be rough for me, I think.
Yeah, it's
not
hard.
to be cons. What does this comment mean?
Clorp Dunk is referring to
have you been to conventions
and playing with strangers at conventions, which I late in life have now done a bunch, and I've seen
I see. I've never
every variation of it. Like the worst games I've ever played in have been convention games, and the 17th best game I've ever played in.
And that's actually saying a lot.
That's pretty good. I played in many hundreds
many. Which is not to say that it's not like if you don't. Not everyone has like a group of comedians and improvisers and actors and storytellers that they can play D&D together with, but I do. So like that's what I want to do.
I mean, we're very lucky. Literally, when Mary Lou and I in 2020, we were like, we want to play D&D. We're bored. It's lockdown. We want to play D&D. Who are our like 2 dream people to play with? If we could have any of our choice.
We didn't know Clint.
We didn't know Clint at the time. So at that point, Zach and Ross were like mostly our improv coaches, and we'd like done some shows with them, but it was still like when we get
we
to
were
do shows with them, it's
friendly,
exciting.
but not like close friends.
And
So that was our reach up. It was like, y'all want to play D&D with us? And then luckily it was lockdown, so they were like, yeah. And then
Clancy's gonna
Ross
make me
brought
cry.
in Clint. Aw.
Oh wow.
and just to be clear, sorry, based on the comment above that, this is not actually an amateurs versus professionals thing. This is a people I know versus strangers thing, which I think is always the ideal. And who are strangers but friends you haven't met yet? So like,
Yeah.
I have like in some streams with people I didn't know, had like a great time, and the next game I would play with them would be, I'm sure, even better. I only have so many. I only have so
at
many
some point, your
hours on this
friends.
earth. And at some point, my friends, which is actually basically how I met Mary Lou.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, LARPing is playing with strangers, though, right? And like,
That's true.
I think a lot of the conflicts that happen at LARP are people who are trying to play within the same game system, but play different games. Like, I want to play a goofy story game, or I want to play a min-max game, or whatever. And the issues come when like those two interests butt heads, and the way you resolve it is like you talk it out as people, and you are like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm not trying to fuck with you. I'm not trying to make your life harder. I'm trying to play this because that's what's fun to me. Great, I get it. This is what I'm doing because it's fun to me. Cool, we understand each other. There's nothing personal. Let's move on.
I think there's some. I mean, I say all the time, like in convention games, I thought this as well. You have to sort of make your own fun sometimes.
Mm.
Like you can't sit back and say entertain me. That's not how these games are played.
Yeah.
So as long as your fun is not detracting from anybody else's, ultimately it should be additive, right? But if a game is bad, chase the fun part for you. I do think is not terrible advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's whoever's running the game's job is to be adaptive to that, and that can be tricky too. Because when you are running a game, a lot of the time you've put in a lot of work into like setting up the story that you want to tell, and sometimes your players are like, "Actually, we'd like to open a restaurant." And so I don't know what this game was going to be about. But
Hashtag Tapa Squad.
Yeah, that was Tapa Squad, and now we would like to be doing this. Shout out to Laser, who was our incredible DM for that game.
Laser had like Laser had like a real serious D&D campaign to DM because it was his first time DMing, and he wanted to like do D&D. And unfortunately, the party he got was we did our first quest, inherited an abandoned ghost mansion,
just to have like a base of operations.
And we spent the rest of the campaign trying to do our best to convert it into a tapas restaurant, and like would only
introducing the concept of tapas to
that was kingdom. A huge part of it, Clint. Was getting people on board with what tapas was.
And like would only go on like little quests and adventures if Laser could convince us that like, all right, you have to do this so
for your cheese supplier.
Yeah, so the cheese supplier will give you this stuff.
Incredible.
It's stupid. D&D is stupid.
Really funny.
Anyway, any final D&D thoughts? Any other topics? Anyone? What have y'all been thinking about? What's going on? Mary Lou, did we ever really talk about virality?
Sort of.
Oh, is Sarah changed forever? Are you changed?
I'm famous now, so.
Yeah, she's actually better than she was before.
I'm a better
because
person.
You changed forever last time you went viral, Mary Lou.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's actually back up to that because. Sarah, you're still in the blush of virality where you're just getting nothing but roses, right?
Yes, lovely.
Mary Lou, you chose to only engage with the trolls.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I talked to Sarah about this a little bit, but so I went viral for the first time with a video that I literally posted on a whim. I was walking to dinner with my friends. We saw a very funny church sign. I did a 9-second video that my friend filmed and posted it for some reason on TikTok, even though I had posted like 4 TikToks before that. I had like 100 followers on TikTok, and I posted on both Instagram and TikTok. and it happened to go viral. I said something about men in it. It wasn't even critical of men, but it like mentioned them. And so it went viral on both TikTok and Instagram. But on Instagram, it got sniffed out by like the men's rights activists. Men are now on YouTube. And it started out positive, right? I had like 300 likes from my friends, and I was like, this is the best that any of my posts have ever done. I feel incredible. Like, yes. And then it was like 95% hate comments from men and men's rights activists who were upset.
And probably robots.
And a lot of them probably robots. Yeah, probably a lot of bots. And at first, when it first happened, I like, you know, it was fun and exciting, but also like really stressful because all my friends would be like, you know, ignore them. It means nothing, right? All of these guys that are talking about how I'm a lesbian, but also I can't get a man.
Can
And
I
I'm
pause you
stupid.
for a second, Mary Lou?
Yes.
Yes! Men! Yes! Wow! Men! And they're on YouTube.
So funny.
I forgot how fucking weird that sign is. Like,
So weird. It's so weird. Celebrating men? Come on.
But
That's
like, we're on
hilarious.
YouTube. Like, what?
What? And then apparently, like, I heard from some other comments, like, that church in particular always has really weird signs because, like, the pastor is a little kooky crazy. And so hilarious. But at first I was like, okay, I'm going to ignore it, right? Just don't feed the trolls is what everybody always says. Don't feed the trolls. And my boyfriend was really concerned about my mental health and was like, just stay off Instagram, like stay off of it. And like, don't even read it.
It's hard.
But like, it was hard.
Hard to do.
And thank you. Yes. Calling me ugly. That's dumb. Nobody believes you. Anyway, but then I gave in to my darkest desires and I like commented something sassy back and instantly my like blood pressure dropped. And I was like, oh, what was that? And then I started responding to more of them because it turns out like they're being mean and trying to make jokes about my appearance. And I was like, I'm funnier than you. You're just like giving me an opportunity to like be smarter and funnier than you.
Yeah.
And then what really ground my gears was that they would talk about me in the third person. So they would comment on my video. I bet she is a cat lady. I bet she can't even get a man. And I was like, you're commenting on my video. That's me, right? And so I would respond. It felt like coming into my living room and like taking a shit on my rug and being like, whose ever rug this is ugly. Like, you're in my house, and taking a shit on my rug. If you're gonna come into my house and be annoying, then I'm gonna be annoying back.
Yeah.
Right.
And the host
like,
is going to have something to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's rude. And so if you're having fun, then I'm going to have fun. And as soon as I started responding to the trolls, I like literally my blood pressure plummeted. I felt so much better. I felt so much more in control. Like my heart rate was elevated for like 3 days for the first like 72 hours of going viral because it was just like constant negative. Even though I could be like, oh, that's nothing. I ignore it. I'm above it. It's still really hard for your automatic nervous system to read and see that all the time.
It's also like, you know, I think that it's especially true for people whose job is themselves, right? Like whose job is like performer, but it's hard for anyone. If you have put something out and there is engagement on it and people are like talking about your quote unquote like work or things that you have done, to ignoring that is really, really hard. Like
Yeah.
you have to hit like a critical mass of having been talked about in a public sphere before that's even possible. Because the first time like you get a bunch of comments on a thing, it's sort of it is a paradigm shift in the way that you interact with social media. Is it your keyboard or is it the way that Sarah types?
Clack, 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 clack. I type like
as a typewriter.
I type like the guy on Cloudy the Chance of Meatballs.
And so once I like recognized what Zach's talking about how like it's not natural for me to ignore this. And I can't do that. Like I have not built up that psychic resistance to feedback.
You also haven't had like, if this was like the 10th time you've gone viral, then like ignoring the comments would be one thing because you'd seen this before. But like if any of us suddenly had 1 million people just writing stuff about them on the internet, like you are going to read it. I think that's true for 95% of the people on this earth.
And the nature of the algo is it's hard to hide from. Also, it literally is like
it wants you to engage.
Yeah.
I think also.
But then I decided. Oh, you go first, Sarah.
I was gonna say a huge difference between our experiences is you posted a silly little joke for your friends, right?
That was for my friends.
And then you have all this shit happening that feels probably in a lot like exciting, but also invasive and weird because it's like, oh, right. Everyone could see this could happen to me whenever. Whereas my clip was very explicitly like a clip.
We wanted that to go viral.
That I had the time to sit with and edit and think about like, is this the message I want to put out there? And yeah, I wanted that to happen. Like I wasn't like trying to go viral, but I wanted people to see it. So that was exciting.
But even if you have curated it, sometimes like once it is out of your hands, it's out of your hands, and it goes sometimes in ways like that you cannot predict. During the first Hillary Clinton Trump election, Rachel Bloom the first Trump election. Yeah. Oh no, Hillary's coming back. Hillary's been writing for me for every election since then. I'm with her. What can I say?
You're so brave.
Sorry. So Rachel Bloom came to me and was like, "Hey, can you help me write this song? I like someone. I've been contacted by this, that, and whatever to do this song for the not for the Hillary campaign, but for like organizations that were trying to like do whatever."
Sure.
So they were like, and we had this idea, it's like, holy shit, you've got to vote. And it was just a song about like how this is something we should pay attention to, and like we're like Donald Trump is horrible. This would be a disaster. Holy shit, you've got to vote. And Breitbart was like, yes, perfect, and ran with it. It's like, look how scared the left is of Donald Trump.
Oh my God.
Running. And that is, I think, where it got the majority of its, like, it went way bigger because of them. So it's so hard to tell. Even when you're like, I hope this goes, it doesn't always go the way that you think it's going to.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that yours has been good so far, Sarah, because it should.
Well, what I would say is I've been pretty good at. Okay, am I obsessively refreshing? Have I spent the last 36 hours obsessively refreshing my Instagram, and have I read every single comment left on the video?
Yes.
Of course.
It would be weird if you hadn't, to be totally honest.
But what it's also just, I don't know. It's different. Like the kinds of comments that trolls make about me are. It's interesting, Mary Lou, and you're like, it's annoying that they're talking about me in the third person.
I really hated that.
That's just how the internet, though. Like
but that's like not my experience.
Really,
these people want me. They're trying to get to me. They're like making banal, boring, transphobic comments that don't matter, or they're making like what they think are brilliant philosophical refutes of my thing that again don't matter because I know that they're wrong, or like they're not done in good faith. and then there are some people who have like legitimate questions or critiques in good faith, and those don't bother me because I want that to happen. Like, so it's
Sure.
the guys who are like, because the whole video is, you know, chair or not chair. So many people making jokes like dude or not dude, or like pretty sure you're a dude in a skirt, and that just has nothing to do with me. Like when you are so much being trolled as part of a trope or category,
Right.
it's really easily not to take it personally. Whereas Mary Lou, people were talking about you in a way that they're not. They're talking when they're commenting at me, they're just talking about trans people in a way I just don't put I had no respect for.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and in that
Anyhow.
case, I responded. That's when I was like, well, I'm smarter and funnier than you. And so
Right.
if you're going to try and dunk on me, I got vicious. I like went to their profile and I found something about them and then I would exploit it.
Mary Lou, that's
And just
crazy.
like I don't think it was crazy. It made me feel great. And I think if you are going to open yourself up, like if you're going to do it to me, why can't I do it to you?
For sure.
It's not my fault that I'm better at it than you are.
Especially because like so much of that is the armor of anonymity where like they feel like they're just
you're not anonymous is what I wanted to say. You know, that like I can see you too.
And everyone here who you think is you think all these people are coming to read about me, which is what you're counting on, is that the focus isn't on you. The focus will actually now be on you.
Yeah.
So like, are you sure you want to roll up to that fight?
Exactly. And then I got comments. I started getting comments on my video that were like both like, oh man, she's fighting in the comments, like she's responding to every comment. But then I also got comments of being like, I'm only here for her comments, like, oh, she's so funny in the replies. And then my replies would get thousands and thousands and thousands of likes to an insult that got like 12, you know.
You ratio
and
those
like,
motherfuckers.
I would just ratio over and over and over and over again, because I wanted someone to come to the comments and like if they thought they had something mean to say, like think like, oh, I'll get crushed. And like you should think that you're gonna get crushed, because that's not you will. Like you shouldn't come to bully somebody anonymously and feel proud of that. Like if you come to bully somebody anonymously, maybe at least have a fear, you know?
Yeah, and the fact that they don't is because the anonymity of the internet is like pretty poisonous, I think, for all of our brains. Like I understand why it's there. I understand why it's there. But it's so funny because like everyone that we know for the most part is mostly on social media. If they're trying to get big on social media, it's because they think it will help them in a different career of some other way. We don't have a lot of friends that are like trying to be capital I influencers. So it's like we have Instagram so that we can advertise and sell tickets to a live show.
Literally.
It's not because we want like deep inspections of our personal lives.
No.
And you know, you can make an argument that like even YouTubers who do want that shouldn't be subjected to the same kind of like, I don't know. This is like a different thought, but I have a person that I knew from high school who's a very, very, very famous YouTuber and had to like be very public on YouTube about stuff in her personal life because she felt like she owed it to her many, many, many followers, which is like, I can't imagine put like opting in to that. That it's wild. But anonymity lets people act quite badly in a way that they never would in real life, or never would admit to in real life.
I think definitely. I also think people, it's really not hard for us in our world because we know so many people who are on stuff. Like we either have worked at or have many friends who work at Dropout and are in these videos, or who are influencers or YouTubers or whatever. And so the line between like the screen and the person is like very transparent for us because we know the humans. I think when you live not in LA, when you're not connected to this world at all, people find it very easy to forget that the people on their screens are human beings and not TV show characters. And
Right.
like within the context of fiction, I think we let ourselves get away with a lot more black and white thinking because that's fun. Like I want to hate Joffrey, I want to hate Cersei, like and that's enjoyable for me. They're villains. And then we bring that over to the way that we interact with YouTubers, Instagram people, like people who are not playing characters but are putting themselves online, but all of a sudden are getting the same treatment as a Game of Thrones villain. And like when these people are forced to confront, like, oh, wait a second, this is a human being I've been fucking with and not like a character.
Right.
A lot of people feel guilty.
For sure.
Yeah.
But go for it.
I had one comment that from a woman who left a comment that was really rude. It talked about me in the third person, and I made a video response to it, and she responded both publicly and privately saying like, I'm so sorry I said that. I see what I said was wrong. I really apologize. I feel really bad. And I was like, you're all good. Listen, like I appreciate your apology. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot to me. And like, we're good now. And if it could all be like that, that'd be great, right? She said she popped off because she saw something in frustration that reminded her of something else. And she got mad at that thing, not at me, but she said it to me. And then I said, that's fucked up. And she was like, wait, yeah, that was fucked up. I'm mad at this, not you.
Sure.
And like, even though I don't agree with her about why she's mad at this thing, I appreciated her apology that like she knew she was misdirecting it. And a lot of people, when you point that out and appeal to their humanity, they will see that and can feel that guilt. And some people don't.
Yeah, it is very frequently not about like I'll say you or
almost never,
right?
Almost never.
Right? Yeah. But the sort of the culture of this has moved so fast and had no etiquette. So people tag the people who they're like, if you want to vent at the internet about a thing you don't like,
that's fine.
Fucking fine. But don't fucking nail it to the person's door.
Like, that's what I mean about coming into my living room and shitting on my rug. Yeah. Like, go shit on your own rug.
And what Clint's talking about is even crazier. Is like someone thinks that they're just being on the internet and talking shit behind someone's back, and then someone else decides like that person needs to read this. That person needs this in their life. It's like, what? This is, and I do think that you're right, Clint. It's we have no internet etiquette, and in fact the algorithms reward bad behavior, right? And so like you are fighting the platform you are on for a good experience, because that's not what they want. They don't want you to be happy, they want you to be engaged, and the way that they get you engaged is by showing you the stuff that will it's rage bait. It's the stuff that will make you mad.
I mean, Sarah mentioned
that's why I went
bad faith commenters, right? The people who they want the engagement, not the conversation. So,
and that's why I punished them by responding with something funnier, right? Like I get the engagement, not you.
Right.
Like would y'all allow me to read one comment?
Please.
This is
I miss it. I need a video to go viral in the wrong way again.
This should not be the one comment that for whatever reason sticks in my head. It really shouldn't. It's not even on the video that went viral. It's on the video I posted about my thoughts on White Lotus. That was from the same show.
Love.
And within my thoughts on White Lotus, I was like, the problem with Mike White slipping in ideas like autogynephilia into the show is then TERFs like J.K. Rowling point to the show as evidence for the existence of autogynephilia because they forget the difference between fiction and reality, and that okay, well, I'm happy to explain that, Zach.
Explain it later when it becomes necessary.
Yeah. Yes. And so like, but yeah, my point was they're like fascists, especially TERFs, especially. You see it in Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro all the time. The way that people on the right cite fiction as evidence for their beliefs about human behavior, they forget that it's not real and that the things happening in that show are not manifestations of human nature, but of one dude's belief about human nature. And this was the point I was making in this clip. Um, and some guy posted this long belief, this long thought. Oh God, where are you? Where are you? I've been arguing with this guy. Okay. Brendan Charlie McDonnell. I'm gonna call you out. He's a screenwriter and director. And
Googling.
Yeah.
and he posted the following comment on my thing.
I don't want him here. I don't want him in this space.
No. Fascinating. To be clear, are you saying Mike White sets forth an oh no, that's the wrong one. I'm so sorry, Bonnie. What you did, I don't even know if it was fine. I didn't read it. Okay. You understand drama dramatizes conflicting belief systems through character, surely, and that characters have flawed perspectives and generally lack insight into their own toxic flaws. Do you truly believe characters speak the objective truth on the human condition and their backstories or vernacular as a direct mouthpiece for the writer? And that annoyed me because I felt like he didn't actually listen to what I had to say.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I believe characters speak the objective truth on the human condition? Explicitly, no.
That's literally the opposite of what you said.
It's also annoying because it seems like it's making the point of like, you don't think anyone's ever written a character that said something they kind of believe, do you?
Right.
Like, yeah, I actually do. I actually think if you look at people's work, a lot of people's characters say stuff that they kind of believe. And they have characters that say the opposite too, but like,
yeah.
I think a lot of times you know a lot about it.
If you have a character acting a certain way in a show you wrote, unless it's like some absurdist cartoon, which White Lotus is not, you aren't necessarily saying this character represents my beliefs as a mouthpiece, but you are saying, I think this kind of person exists. Like, that's what you're asserting.
Yeah, unless it's like fantasy, right? It's like,
right.
Yeah.
In theory, like we're supposed to believe that this is a show about real humans doing things that real humans would do, even if those things are heightened.
Even in fantasy, you're doing that. Like, you might not think that whatever magical thing is happening is real, but you do think it's true that some people's like honest human response to those events would take them one direction or another. Like George R. R. Martin isn't going to have a character in Song of Ice and Fire who's like, wow, that lady just gave birth to a shadow, and I'm going to sit down right here and make myself a shawarma, because he's like, that's not a realistic response to what happened. Like, his characters will do all kinds of. Okay, Zach, I know you would.
It's pretty funny. Remember
I
that
really
shawarma scene from
shawarma.
Avengers?
It's funny.
Remember when they all got shawarma, and then you're like, oh, I guess Iron Man liked shawarma too.
So
I guess don't think of the best example as an example of what's bad, Sarah.
That's a good point. So I responded to Brendan Charlie McDonnell. I didn't want to respond to him. He just annoyed me. So I said, "Wait, isn't White Lotus a documentary?"
Good.
And he said, "Cute. Still, I'm not sure anyone is pointing to a dramatic monologue by a shady addict and obviously unreliable narrator as proof of anything. But by all means, prosecute your argument." Smiley face. And it's like, yet again,
why is he like defending Mike White? Mike White doesn't need.
He loves White, but he's defending Mike White. Okay, the thing is, this dude is like a white screenwriter. So forgive me, Brendan. I don't know anything about you, but I assume you believe something like a white cis straight screenwriter guy, or even if you're gay, Brendan, you can like kind of dabble and explore any ideas you want, and no one can call you out because this is just fiction. I'm not saying anything about anything really. It's like the screenwriter takes all the credit when people praise what the show says, but then retreats into the defense of like, it wasn't me, it was the character.
And has never really been forced to think too hard about any of these things.
Right. And that was like what I said to him. I was like, I know you're not sure anyone is pointing to a dramatic monologue by this guy in the show, but I told you in the clip you're arguing about that they did. Like, my reference to J.K. Rowling wasn't hypothetical. J.K. Rowling literally commented on this on Twitter. Ray Blanchard, the discredited sexologist who created the autogynephilia theory that has caused trans women a lot of harm over the last 4 decades, tweeted about this moment in White Lotus and said, finally, autogynephilia is mainstream. There were multiple articles written about how there was an annoying one, and that was like, White Lotus is the first great post-woke piece of art because it was like willing to engage with this discredited pseudoscientific idea of autogynephilia. So it's like, they are. I told you where they were. You could have Googled that, right? I did prosecute my case. I can't make you look it up.
Can't make you
Norm
watch the
Macdonald-
proceedings.
Yeah.
Norm Macdonald said something when he was alive about like non-PC jokes or something like that, and maybe it was specifically about jokes about trans people. And I remember reading what he said in the wake of
in his wake.
At his wake that I went to because we're close personal friends. No, in the wake of a comedian who played he's the black comedian, played a racist, blind black guy. Come on,
Dave Chappelle.
The Chappelle Show. Dave Chappelle. Sorry, tip of the tongue. And Norm said something like, he's like, I'm not afraid of making like non-woke offensive jokes. That's not what the problem is. He was like, once you learn that I can make a joke and somebody can take it to then hurt somebody else with, like,
Sure.
and like a misunderstanding or misabusing what I say, my joke, to as evidence or proof or fodder, ammunition to hurt somebody else with. Why would I want to? Why would I want to make that joke then? It's not worth it. I can make a different joke. I wish I could
this
think of
assertion of like my freedom to say and do whatever I want as more important than someone else's freedom, like not to be harmed by whatever I say or do.
Yeah. And he essentially was like, yeah, I could if I wanted to. I just don't want to. Why would I? Yeah. Once I've learned that like the harm it could cause, I just don't want to.
There's also, in addition to that, this is not my take, but there's also has to be a lot of people that get in sort of hot water for like jokes and then like get on the defensive for the thing that they said. The real issue is actually not that it's not that it's offensive, it's that it's not funny. Yeah. Like you were treading into something that you thought was edgy and you didn't pull off the joke, because it's not like trans people don't have a sense of humor. Like it's not like you can't make jokes about trans people. They like, but if you're gonna do it, it better be fucking funny.
Yeah. Good comedy is always aware of like the stakes with which it's playing, and you just don't understand the stakes. Like
it's the Jeselnik take. It's that you can say whatever you want, but comedy is incredibly hard, and some people are very bad at it.
Yeah.
If you're going to play with dynamite, you should be an expert.
Right? Yeah, Jeselnik is a perfect example of like offensive comedy that's fucking funny. You know, and so like, yeah, if you're gonna do it, like it better be hilarious, and you cannot scream at the audience.
He has thought about it for a long time before he delivers it.
And also, and like, yes, also obviously there should always be considerations about like, is this punching down? Is this a joke that I should be making? Blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, like every joke has a threshold at which it's so funny that it doesn't matter. Everyone will be on board because it's so funny. And almost always when someone is pushing back and it's like, they're canceling me because of my jokes, it's like, well, sure, your jokes may be offensive, but the actual issue here is that your jokes are not funny enough to be holding the dynamite that they're holding. Like,
Jared talks about Sex in the City with old transphobic stuff. Like that just happens. Culture changes. People get more aware of stuff. I will still happily rewatch Dude, Where's My Car? Even though there's some transphobic ass shit in it. But like there's a video going around that I saw last week. It's probably been going around for a while about Apu from The Simpsons.
Sure.
Hank Azaria is talking.
Hank Azaria's talk about Apu, and like how initially when he was called out for it, he was like, "This is stupid. I'm just doing a silly voice." But then the more he learned and thought about it, and the more he talked to people who'd been directly impacted it and how it actually affected their lives, and it wasn't just a silly voice, he changed his mind and he stopped doing it. And like that's fine. Like that's great.
That's cool.
Hank Azaria isn't canceled for having done the Apu voice, and people still watch old seasons of The Simpsons. Hank Azaria would have been like the canceling would come from his refusal to listen and learn and assert like his purity over the experiences of people trying to talk to him.
But I in addition to that, I also think that we on the left, and I'm using that as an extremely broad we because it's not everyone on the left, obviously, like fucking eat our own for doing stuff in a way that the right does not. Like and it's exactly what you're saying, Sarah. It's like I think we need to be an ideal society cannot be one in which no one has ever made a mistake in the past. It must be one in which there's like a path forward for people that say like shitty stuff to like learn and grow and be better. Because if we don't give them that path, I know someone who will, and you won't like where it leads them.
And Po Buddy is nerfed, and this gets to like the black and whiteification and destruction of nuance on social media. But like someone was asking in the comments like a genuine question that I appreciated, where he was like, "Look, I don't really know any trans people, and like I do my best with pronouns and stuff. I don't really understand it. I don't know the language. Like I see you as human. I respect you. Like it's not coming from a place of disrespect, but like I mess up sometimes, and I'm just wondering if you have like advice or thoughts on that, or like is there anything I should change or do?" And I was like, "Look, the point. There's this right-wing like phantasm of the angry trans person who, if you misgender them one time, will explode." And
I have not seen that.
Never
I know a lot of trans people. Maybe I'm sure that person exists somewhere.
I've only seen one of them explode live.
Yeah.
like blow up and be dead.
Spontaneously combust. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's only happened one time.
But
almost never.
As a trans, as someone who knows a lot of trans, in my experience, I misgender my friends all the time too, because humans misspeak and language is imperfect and we always mess up. Like all I care about and all most of my friends care about is that it genuinely seems like you're trying to like you're doing your best and you're trying to learn, and like the fact that you want to come ask me, that's great. That's a perfect sign.
It's pretty easy to tell. Oh
hell yeah! Whoa!
Whoa.
What caused that?
Thumbs up.
What did you say?
Yeah. It's pretty easy to tell the difference between somebody who messed up and is trying versus somebody who is acting in bad faith and somebody who's messed up and is not trying that hard, right? Because there's a difference between
someone who is annoyed that they have to try.
Exactly.
Someone
right?
Someone misgenders me and I say like, "Hey, by the way, it's like she, her." If it happens a couple times, I usually will let it slide once or twice. And I'm like, "Hey, by the way, it's she, her," or something. If they say, "Oh, sorry," great. If they say, "It's actually like really hard, and like I'm doing my best, and I don't know why you're like coming at me like this," and I'm like, "I'm not."
And also, it's not that hard. You're just not trying.
You call boats she. But
yeah, come on. You call cars she,
not my
right?
boat.
Like
not my America. My boat's a man boat.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to tell the difference, right? So if you mess up, but you're really genuinely trying, like we can tell. And if I don't know, if you keep getting called out, maybe see if like, are you actually trying as hard as you think you are? Like, I don't know.
We have 9 minutes. So Zach, here's a quick intro to autogynephilia. Ray Blanchard is a discredited sexologist from like the 80s who wanted.
It's a thing that he came up with.
Yes.
Cool. I'm done.
Okay.
It's in your show, right?
No, I don't really. I mention it because someone asked me about White Lotus that wasn't in the show, and so I didn't explain what it is in the show. It's a common TERF tactic. I'll explain it here because a lot of the people in the comments are
I'm
asking
kidding.
too.
I do want to hear, but I just also am also saying that I had a scheduled time to watch your show and I couldn't watch it then, and so I haven't seen it yet. But I can't wait
No
to see
worries.
it.
Yeah,
And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to make you do a thing that I am then going to go learn when I see your show.
No, it's not part of the show.
This is a new part.
It's why, like, okay, autogynephilia. Ray Blanchard wants to categorize. He wants to understand what are trans women really? What's driving these freaks? Boats.
They're boats.
We're actually boats.
Is that the name of his paper?
Yeah, I'm an inboard. Good for skiing. So he divides trans women into two categories based on like whether they're attracted to women or whether they're attracted to men. A trans woman who's attracted to a woman, a trans woman who's attracted to a man is a real transsexual, and they make sense because basically
they fit a heteronormative.
They're homosexual men who are trying to conform themselves to heterosexuality, and that makes sense, and that's natural. That's the real transsexual. Trans women who are attracted to women, and this guy didn't even consider bisexuality. Trans women who are attracted to women are actually straight cis men who have like an overwhelming kink or fetish for like imagining themselves in a woman's body. And the whole reason they want to transition is to alleviate like this kink. And
so it's all just a fetish for yourself having a vagina.
That's the depth to it. The desire.
Autogynephilia. Okay.
Yes. And
the Latin makes sense to me now.
Yes. Yeah. It's actually Greek. So he throws this categorization out there.
Is it though?
It is.
Is it though?
It is.
Don't gaslamp me, Sarah. Don't you come here and gaslamp me.
Don't.
And trans women are all like, that's not what this is, my guy.
Right.
But for
like every trans woman is like, no,
especially
where did you get that?
Yeah, especially for TERFs, people like J.K. Rowling who like want to approach transphobia from the pseudo-feminist space. It's like, yeah, I knew it was just men trying to colonize like the female body.
And being creepy and pervert. Yeah.
All along.
When like he didn't get that from anyone, he imagined that. Like he made that up.
Well, yeah.
No, that's not true. That's actually not true, Mary Lou. Here's what he did. He interviewed a bunch of trans women, and he heard a lot of these trans women saying like, well, yeah, in my sexual fantasies, I have a female body.
Yeah.
And he thought, kink. That's what this is.
You're turned on by, okay.
What he is a bad scientist who didn't interview cis people. Because had he interviewed cis women, turns out when cis women fantasize, they also are usually imagining themselves in a female body.
Crazy.
Like, that's not a thing that separates trans women from cis women. Also, 30% of cis men report at some point having fantasized about being in a female body, like experimentally. People fantasize about fucking everything.
That's why they call it fantasy, yo.
Right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote all that anime.
That's right.
Exactly.
There's so much anime where that's
the
case.
The fact that like other people do it, Julia Serrano has a great essay about this, but it like builds in like a series of bandit camps for them to rhetorically retreat to. When they say autogynephile, when they talk about how trans women are autogynephiles, what they're saying is you're only transitioning because you're a guy with this fucked up fetish.
Pervert.
When you say autogynephilia is a discredited pseudoscience, that's not what being trans is. They say it's not a discredited pseudoscience. Like actually a lot of people experience autogynephilia. Cis women do it, a lot of men do it. Like it's actually, there's a lot of evidence for it. And I'm like, great, but that's not what you were talking about right before.
Mm-hmm.
You're using the word, but you're referring to two different ideas here. It's prevarication is what that's called. And in White Lotus, have you seen White Lotus?
Nope.
In episode 5 of this season, Sam Rockwell gives a monologue where he's this like fucked up guy who's like went to Thailand and he's like,
really incredible monologue.
Yeah, sure, from an acting standpoint or whatever.
Well,
he's like, I wanted to have sex. Like I went to Thailand, I was having all these sex with all these like Asian women, and then I started thinking like, well, am I only enjoying having sex with them because I want to be one of them? And then I started bringing like lady boys over to fuck me, and then I started getting guys who look like me to come over, and I would dress up like a woman, and I'd have the guy who looked like me fucking me, and I'd hire an Asian woman to sit there, and I'd look at her and imagine being her being fucked by me. And then I realized actually all identity issues can just be resolved by realizing that identity is a lie, everything is illusion, and stop whining and complaining about anything because everything's illusion. And let's just be Buddhist and stop trying to fix or change the world. That's a little bit of my editorializing on Mike White's Jordan Petersonification. But
dude reads Plato much?
So he posted this monologue. Ray Blanchard clips it, posts it on Twitter, and says, yes, autogynephilia gone mainstream. J.K. Rowling retweets him about how great it is.
But the interesting thing, really fast, like the show is not portraying him as a good or smart person. So
he's
it's
also
even
not trans, technically. He says, I thought I wanted to be a woman, but their point is, yes, he thought that. All trans women are this guy mistaken. And they have to realize they're actually fucked up men who need Buddhism.
Yeah. And it's just like so bizarre that you would look at that and be like, proof, when it's like, even this show, written by somebody who like had Ray Blanchard sympathies, is like portraying this guy as like a creepy pervert who is unreliable.
But like all of that aside, what I think this is also coming down to is this person doesn't want to see critiques of the show they like very, very much.
Right. Yeah, of course not. Yeah, they want to be able to write and say and do whatever they want. It's classic.
This show is like,
it's white guy. It's white guy in the arts syndrome. It's like, as an artist, I exist on this morally high plane. I can do anything. It is in the honor of art
and fiction. Yeah, it's so funny. Having looking at it from the outside, I feel like the last episode came out and I saw a lot of people being like, Mike White, incredible show creator, all this stuff. And then I also saw a couple of people that were like, dude, maybe does need a writer's room.
Yeah.
It turns out maybe he does.
But also, like, turns out, like, we're allowed to like and not like shows. It's okay when someone else doesn't like the thing that you like. You don't need to fucking like strap on your guns and ride into their town.
And I liked White Lotus. I watched all of it. I'm just saying it's trash. And I'm not even saying like, Mike White, you're a bad guy. I'm saying I wish Mike White and creators like him who have a lot of power would like recognize the power they have. Mm-hmm. Stop treating yourself as just like some armchair philosopher using the biggest show on TV to think through your ideas on people.
Yeah, I'm just asking questions.
Or like think about the fact that it might get used that way, right? Because like the most like benign version of it is didn't even bat an eye to think that this would spark and like that anyone would take this in any other context. Like there's a world in which Mike White does not like that J.K. Rowling is retweeting his shit out in the world. I think that's probably true, right? When I think of Mike White, but
he went on Andrew Sullivan, who's this like gay conservatives podcast, and Andrew Sullivan was like, oh, I love that monologue. You made the guy like a freaking autogynephiliac. And Mike White's like, I don't really like labels. Like, I'm really just interested in like desire and identity. And could you call him could you call it autogynephilia? Maybe, but like that's not what I'm interested in.
But that's what I mean. Like that's him politically backing away from this association that he's not 100% comfortable with while actively being in an interview with someone who is trying to pin that on him.
The show is kind of trashy, but it's filmed like a prestige drama, so people
treat it like a prestige drama.
There is no look. In my opinion, White Lotus is fancy South Park because it has the exact same. That's what I talk about in the clip.
Maybe now I want to watch it.
A turd and douche sandwich. Like the whole thesis of White Lotus is that like actually people on the left are also bad.
Yeah.
Like anyone who thinks they're a good person actually just hasn't realized that they're a shitty person yet.
Which is, I think, like the most sort of like salient criticism that I've heard leveled at South Park, which is like it's like pretty immature to like both sides, all this stuff. And I think that they have done some version of like learning and growing from that. Maybe not to the degree that we would all like, but I don't think they head in the sand at it. I also haven't seen South Park in some time.
They've talked about it. I've watched a few of the recent South Park movies, and I wouldn't say that I still love everything that they do. but also it's what they do for money, and like they are kind of locked into South Park at this point. But
no, not really. They don't actually need any money.
They're actually super rich.
except to keep Casa Bonita running, which might be sort of in the red for like. That's
What's Casa Bonita?
okay. Hold on. Can I say this is not?
Let's wrap out the show with the Casa Bonita story.
Okay. Can you be like in 1 minute, because my therapy starts at noon, and I think if I leave,
it'll end the stream.
Casa Bonita is a Disneyland-esque Mexican restaurant in Colorado, where they're from. It was in danger of closing. They bought it and ended up spending 10 times more than they thought they were going to have to spend to save this like beloved thing for this town. There's a documentary on it on Paramount Plus. It's great. It's legitimate. Like, I loved it. Regardless of what you think of the South Park guys, it's I think very, very interesting.
That's awesome. Yeah, objectively good to save a beloved hometown restaurant from closing.
From corporate demagogues or whatever.
Yeah,
Sarah's going to take this conversation to therapy, and it was nice hanging out with my friends. I'll see you all soon.
Bye, friends. See y'all later. Everyone in the chat, thanks so much for hanging out with us, and as always, stay chill and stay touched.